Welcome to Shake It and Disturbed, everybody. This is Father God Daryn Carp coming to you from the Zoom recording interweb, still in Christmas land, because
Correct.
why the fuck not? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully you'll have an update. But here with Mother God, my podcast partner, my friend, John Thrasher.
Hi, everybody. Yes, that's true. We are still in the holiday season here on the show.
We really are. We're
I
becoming those people. Zooey's
I
notes.
mentioned it. I know. Zooey's notes, which I do have right here.
And here are Zoe's notes.
Her
Okay.
notes are to get the fuck rid of the Christmas trees in the
Her notes
bedroom.
is that we need to move on from the holidays, and that's true. She's not wrong about that.
Yeah.
Um, there was a big issue with my graphics. We will have a new one next week. That's all you have to know. However, before we even get any further, you guys, we're not going to tell you what it is. But Daryn has yet another very exciting life announcement that she just dropped on this week's NMR. So if you're listening to this in the main feed, you can go there and listen to that episode as well. Daryn, without giving it away, thoughts,
It's
prayers,
not
emotions.
an engagement. I didn't get engaged twice.
Yeah, we did
So
that
let
already a
me
couple weeks
dispel
ago.
that rumor. I know what you're
Yeah,
thinking. Did she get engaged twice? No. Still same engaged to how it
same
is.
engaged.
So
Yeah,
it's another
life
equally
update.
exciting, life-altering update for you.
There you go. That's all you're getting today for this week's
That's right.
episode. So you have to go listen to NMR. And yeah, that's all we're going to give you. Daryn, let's get right into this week's episode. And I'm going to warn you guys now. Skimmed through a lot of this research earlier today just to make sure we knew what we're talking about. This one is a little bit more unsettling than usual. I wouldn't say it's any less or more gory than a standard episode, but there are details about this that really had me like pausing. So I'm just letting everyone know. Okay? That's
Some
the
would say, John, that you
tease.
might be shaken and disturbed, but
You might think
just
it's
me
a
thinking out loud.
show called Shaken and Disturbed. It's true.
That's a good idea, actually. We should
Yeah,
do that.
we should do that.
Um, okay, so Sarah Boone was born in October of 1977. That would make her turning 48 this year. And grew up in Florida as a model citizen and overall good girl. You know, I was a good girl. I was a good student,
Well,
a lot of extracurriculars, just like Sarah Boone, I mean, a well-rounded person, if you will.
okay,
And
sure.
when she graduated from high school in the mid 90s, her life actually took a distinct turn. Sarah became heavily involved in drugs and alcohol in her early 20s. So,
It
same type
happens
of trope.
tragically. Yep,
Now, in 2004, we're fast forwarding a few years. She's about 26 or whatever on the math on that, 28.
sure.
28-year-old Sarah married a man named Brian Boone, and they had a son named Lucas together in 2010 after 6 years of marriage. However, the birth of her son seemingly did little to discourage Sarah's drinking and drug use, and she and Brian unfortunately divorced, shortly after welcoming Lucas into the world. That's
Yeah,
hard. This affects
yeah,
a
I
lot of
mean,
people.
it sounds like she has like an alcoholism or like an addiction problem. And when you introduce a child into the mix of that, rarely does that go well for anyone
And I've really
involved.
and I've really come to learn that it isn't just, and maybe it was because I was watching a Dawson's Creek episode about this almost very same thing
Maybe it
last night.
is. Yeah.
It isn't just like she didn't love, I mean, I'm extrapolating here, but I'm just saying, like, not every case is like, oh, she didn't love her son and husband enough to quit. It's
Oh
not
no, that's
that.
not how that works.
That's
No.
not how that works at all. I mean, it's overcoming your natural instincts, I think.
Yeah,
People, it's a disease.
it's a disease,
Like
exactly.
addiction is very hard to overcome. And so it's
Right.
not really, you have to really go through a lot of therapy and a
I was
lot
just gonna
of
say, yep,
loving yourself. I mean, it's not just a matter of being like, oh, well, I love my son and husband more than I love the drink, but some people
right.
drink because they love them so much that they don't want to disappoint them, that they'd rather black out from how much they love somebody. Like so
Yeah.
many different layers and facets to this.
Tragically, I personally have come to learn and understand addiction in a whole different way from like, I don't know, even 15 years ago.
Sure.
And to your point, what people need to do is they need to get effective treatment. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reality about addiction. It's like, would you tell somebody with a cold to just get over it? Well, no, that's not how that works. You need to treat the cold. You need to make sure you're not. I mean, a cold is a certain type of example here as a virus, but Yeah, I mean it's a tragic thing, and there's such a stigma behind people with addiction, like their XYZ. I mean, obviously most of the time people with addiction are not making great choices and can really affect the people that they love, but you know, it is a disease and it is something that you have to get treatment for as we've been
Yeah.
saying. So, no shame here in that regard.
Well, after the couple split, Sarah continued to spend time in the old neighborhood, including kind of people watching at a bar across the street from the house she and Brian had shared. Nothing like people watching, especially in New York City.
I was just gonna
Uh,
say in New York, that was like one
Super
of my most
fun.
favorite things to do.
During one such excursion, a friend introduced Sarah to a man named Jorge Torres. Now, Jorge was just 1 year younger than Sarah, grew up in Philly, sorry, and had relocated to Union Park, Florida after his own divorce. I'm sorry, but the Eagles beat the
Wow,
Rams, and like, do I need to like
that's
Philly?
right.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't have to.
What's
Like, don't make
the
me, just
quick
don't make
side
me like this.
tangent? What's the detail? What's going on in NFL? Is the Super Bowl ready? Do we know who's in it yet? I don't even know. You
I'm
don't want
not
to talk
good.
about it?
I know it's not that, and my team's never gonna fucking be in it.
Oh, okay,
Um,
that's why you don't know. Okay, fine.
the Chiefs are fucking killing, and
Okay.
it's just yeah, like
Buffalo Bills are doing something. See,
Lions.
guys,
I
this
don't
is
know.
this is not a sports podcast. If you came
It's
here to
not.
hear sports commentary, you're in the
That's why we got to go
wrong
back to this murder. Yeah, we got to go back
you're
to
in
this
the
murder.
wrong the wrong part of the internet. But anyway, keep going.
Well, Sarah and Jorge hit it off, and once Jorge's divorce was settled, um, the couple began officially dating and even got their own place together. So I'm not sure if I even mentioned this last detail, but so he grew up in Philly, relocated to Union Park, Florida after his
Yeah.
own divorce. So two
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
divorces kind of coming together in sort of this equal shared, um, hard time, let's say. It seems, however, that their relationship was tumultuous from the start. In fact, the couple had a habit of getting engaged, fighting, breaking up, and getting back together and announcing a new engagement. Where have we heard this? And let me tell you something. This is not
Yeah.
even a true crime case. I mean, I have friends like this.
Oh, I know. I was just about to say the same thing. I have a friend who is way younger than I am. He's a friend of a family member. That's all I'll say for now. And he's one of those really, he's super young. He's in his like one of his first relationships and he thinks like it's like live or die. And I'm like, bro, you have so much life ahead of you. Like, please don't get hung up on this one single incident or this
It's going to
one
be
single
hard for him to
issue.
see that. It's like
I
you can
know. And
really
I
only
was for
know it
me.
while you're living
So
it. Of course,
yeah, we all go through it. It's a canon event, as they say.
but people love
It's
getting back
true.
together, breaking up, getting back together, as opposed to seeing
There's,
that as just like a genuine red flag. People love
yeah.
the drama of it
Yeah,
for
they do.
multitude of reasons and not necessarily all of them nefarious. But yeah,
That's true
that's
too. Yep.
never a good sign.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Well, so Sarah's ex-husband had since commented on the relationship, reporting that the two were constantly calling the police over alleged spousal abuse.
Oh,
Each had been
geez.
arrested at least once for physical abuse, against the other. So flash forward now, we're in 2020 actually, like right around the time of the pandemic starting, February 3rd, 2020. Sarah made a 911 call from the home that she and Jorge shared in Florida. On the call, Sarah first stated that her boyfriend was dead and that medical assistance was required. She then informed the 911 operator, quote, and get ready for this, folks. I put him in a suitcase and we were playing, kind of a hide and seek kind of thing. I fell asleep and I woke up and he was dead in the suitcase. So I don't know what happened. End
I could tell
quote.
you what happened.
Yeah, there might be a clear indication about what happened there. Um, Authorities and paramedics arrived at the scene immediately and rendered aid and began investigating. Because, by the way, of course they would. This is very suspicious. You aren't going to really probably, I would imagine, believe that somebody just fell asleep and their boyfriend ended up in a suitcase and the next thing you know, he's dead. Obviously, that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But during the investigator's initial interview with Sarah, she shared that she and Jorge had stayed home all day, aside from a quick run to the store for cigarettes and a bottle of wine. Okay, we're
Been
getting a
there.
picture here about, yeah, exactly the type of people these guys are. The couple had only shared one bottle of wine, which seemed to back up Sarah's claim that they both felt pretty sober, as they spent the day doing arts and crafts and hanging out together.
Hmm.
I mean, a bottle of wine between two people. I mean, I guess I
It's
wouldn't be
about 2.5
drunk.
glasses of
Yeah,
wine.
yeah,
Well, I'm not a big wine drinker, so if I
that's
had
true.
2.5 glasses of wine, I first off, wine makes me tired, so I really can't drink that much of it. And I
Okay.
think that's one of the reasons I don't drink it too much anymore. But two and a
Yeah.
half glasses would at least give me, I think, some sort of,
A
you know,
buzz.
a buzz. I would
That's
not
how
be
I feel.
shit-faced or anything like that, but
Yeah.
a buzz. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Later on in the day, Sarah claimed that the couple decided to play hide and seek. Okay, but by the way,
So
does that really
like what?
happen? Like
Yeah.
what? We're not literally 10. Somehow during the game, Sarah had convinced Jorge to let her zip him up inside a suitcase. Let me pause for 1 second. There are no circumstances whatsoever where I would ever say,
Absolutely not.
absolutely not.
Listen,
Thank you.
I was made my tangent, made my dad watch The Traders, and
Yeah.
one of the like challenges kind of was like, just rough estimate. Three people had to get inside of a coffin. And as they're getting inside, I
No.
told my dad, I was like, I'm quitting the game,
I would be off of the set
or I'm
immediately.
telling them, film me walking in the coffin,
Yeah,
cut,
exactly.
cut,
Yeah,
put
yeah,
someone else in, and
yeah.
I'll stand to the side and no one will be the wiser. I
No
was
one
like,
will
but
know.
I'm not doing that.
No,
So
we are not doing that.
correct.
No.
Not in a suitcase either.
No, and we're certainly not for a game. Um, well, somehow during this game, Sarah convinced, like as I said, Jorge to let her zip him up into the suitcase. And for reference, Jorge stood 5'2". Daryn, how tall are you? If you don't mind me
Five
asking.
seven.
Oh, are you? Okay, 5'7". I know Gaga is like 5'2", which is crazy. She's super short.
My mom's 5'2".
Oh, is she? I don't
Yeah,
remember that. I
baby.
remember hugging your mom. Good hugger.
Yeah, she is a good hugger.
But for reference, Jorge stood 5'2" and weighed about 100 pounds. And I think that is important. You do need to know that detail because you're
Yeah,
kind
it's not a
of
6'5" dude. I mean, like
exactly
how you'd have to. I hate to say this, but you'd probably have to like dismember them
really
to
mess
fit them
something up.
in. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Well, Sarah claims that after closing her boyfriend in the suitcase, she, quote, accidentally fell asleep while he was locked
Oh my God.
inside.
It makes me cringe. Like
I
the
know.
idea of being locked inside a suitcase while you're still alive. Like, let's say all of this is true and she accidentally fell asleep, which obviously, like, how are you not screaming to wake her up? Or maybe she's not in the
Well,
room or she's so drunk, but like, oh my God, I feel my body being closed in. Like I can't
well,
breathe.
just remember that this is her perspective as of right now. That
Yes,
was her
of course.
claim. So let's see
I, I
where this
I
really
know
goes.
that's not true, but like just feeling yourself
Oh,
inside a
I
suitcase,
know.
I just
That's why I made the little disclaimer at the top of the show. I was like, just so you know, this will
yeah.
play into some of your paranoias, phobias, and fears today. So, you know what? I didn't actually say that. I should have said it that way,
Well, you
but
said
that's
it.
okay. I said it now.
And imagine being locked inside a suitcase with a spider. I can't, I shan't, I won't.
Oh
Now,
my God. I'm going to do that to you one day. I'll be like, come here, Daryn.
let's play hide and
There's a,
seek.
come here, Daryn. There's, Julia Louis Dreyfus is in the suitcase over
Uh,
here.
she
Oh,
is?
yeah.
Oh,
Suddenly you're in there,
oh,
right? Psych. It's a giant tarantula named Julia Louis
exactly.
Dreyfus. Yeah.
That's a good name for a tarantula. Okay, so according to her story, Sarah slept through the night and woke up the next day at 12:30 p.m.
Oh my
She'd
God.
completely forgotten he was still in the suitcase.
Oh my
What a
God.
story.
Oh my God.
When she realized her mistake, Sarah claims that she ran downstairs to check on Jorge, finding him dead. Now, Sarah initially called her ex husband Brian because she didn't know what to do. And Brian advised his ex wife to call the police, which she did. If that's true, that's good.
Yeah, right. I mean,
When
we know she called police for sure, but how she got there, we don't really, maybe really know. But
when Sarah was asked to repeat her story, her narrative, yeah, of course, shifted
right.
from, quote, Sarah putting Jorge into the suitcase to it being a shared idea that
Oh,
both thought it would be funny.
I'm sure they were both just really laughing up a storm.
Don't know how Jorge would find that funny at all, but I digress. Now, Sarah then stated she assumed Jorge would be able to eventually free himself unassisted, but was unfortunately unable to. Okay.
Right. Right. We're aware. Yeah.
Okay. Now, after finishing up their initial interview with Sarah, she escorted her to the police station. And while a team of investigators stayed at her home to try to piece together who this couple was, What had actually happened on the night of Jorge's life is this. What actually happened on the night of
Yeah.
Jorge's life, and what that is. Now, they began by talking to neighbors who all swore that Sarah was a nightmare to live by. She was almost always drunk or otherwise intoxicated and had even fallen asleep several times on her neighbors' lawns. If you're falling asleep on your neighbors' lawns,
That's insane.
you have a problem.
But this does lend, according to neighbors, to the idea that maybe she actually did just walk away and fall asleep somewhere. Like maybe she
It
really
might,
was drunk or high or whatever, you know?
in which case, like that does her story would be true, but still,
Yeah.
like somewhat. I mean, aren't you like at
Yeah.
least an accessory to a murder at that point?
For
Because
sure. For
yeah.
sure.
Now, Sarah's home was a townhouse, and her closest neighbors, two men named Vincent and Brandon, shared a very thin wall with her.
Yeah. And as someone who lives in an apartment building with neighbors who absolutely drive him absolutely fucking crazy, I really kind of sympathize with this situation to some degree.
Fair. Your neighbors
Fair.
have a baby? Is that what it is, or what
Yeah,
is
they have
the?
a toddler
Oh,
that screams, like just wails and screams at the top of its lungs. And by the way, I get it. Okay, parents listening, I'm not out here trying to shit on parents. It's
no, but
just
even parents can't like that. I mean, that's the thing. It's like if
that's
you don't even
that's
have the
exactly
kid, how are you gonna
yeah.
like that noise? Because parents who literally are giving this kid life, or at least
Yeah.
are responsible for this kid, don't
Hmm.
like that. So
Good point, Daryn. That's all we'll
you're
say
allowed to complain.
today.
I'm sorry, but like,
Well,
come
I
on.
wish the parents would step in and be like, "Hey, maybe don't scream," but I don't really hear that happening either, but nonetheless, that's for another day. So, Vincent, the neighbor, as we just mentioned of the townhouse here, was eager to tell police that they could clearly hear daily fights between Sarah and Jorge. Same with me. Just want to put that
Right.
out there.
Yeah.
These people need to absolutely separate in my apartment building.
Sarah and Jorge need to calm
And
down.
Sarah and Jorge need to relax as well. Anyway, in fact, the issue had grown so bad that Sarah had approached Vincent asking him not to report any loud sounds or fighting coming from her apartment. That's not okay. That sounds like
Well, certainly
enabling to some
enable. Yeah,
degree.
I was gonna say you're enabling that behavior for sure.
Now, according to these two men, they had heard lots of loud bangs coming from the apartment around 10:30 to 11, excuse me, 11 p.m. on the evening that Jorge lost his life. The neighbors stated that the bangs sounded like something heavy was falling down the stairs. Uh-oh.
Ooh.
As the noise had originated from somewhere that sounded, quote, far away, but grew closer as they continued. Okay, I don't like where this is going. I think we can kind of pick up here, but authorities started to realize that the crime scene and the neighbors' reports did not line up with Sarah's timeline of the evening.
Gee, surprise there.
Yeah, they gained even more insight when the results of Jorge's autopsy came in, and his injuries did not support Sarah's claim that he had simply been left in a suitcase. Medical examiners found long scratches on the back of his neck and contusions all over his left shoulder
Ooh.
and left side of his face. Now, though his cause of death was ultimately asphyxiation, these injuries seemed more in line with Jorge having been pushed down the stairs, not someone abandoned in a suitcase. I'm obviously thinking he was in the suitcase and pushed down the stairs,
And a
right?
5'2" person, let alone a male,
Yeah,
mighty, but could probably be,
right.
pushed downstairs or at
Oh,
least
yeah, I
forced to
would
do
agree.
something. I mean, uh, men have more muscle or muscle built differently, but obviously a 5'2", 100-pound woman is, come on.
I agree. Well, Sarah, as a result of this, Sarah was brought in actually for more questioning and spoke to police for 2 hours. During this time, Sarah claimed that she had never touched Jorge in a violent manner that evening, despite the fact that his autopsy proved otherwise. Now,
Hmm.
Sarah yammered on at length, trying to explain her side of the story and refusing to let police get a word in edgewise. It seemed like she was trying to basically try and distract the detectives from their lines of questioning. We've talked about this over
Fair.
the years. We hear about, and they're usually guilty, by the way, people that are being questioned trying to control the narrative. And that's always a bad sign. During this time, authorities notified Sarah that they had actually searched both her phone and her laptop.
Ooh.
And in fact, they had already begun searching through Sarah's electronics and found two very incriminating videos. And I just want to tell you, it gets a little weird right
Beware.
now. So be aware.
I wonder if I guess they could lie and tell her that they're searching it. I mean, obviously they had a warrant out for her, or
Yeah.
whatever to search her property because it was a crime scene. But like, A, do you have to disclose that we're going through your stuff? And B, could you lie and say, oh, we're going through your stuff just to
Yes.
see, right? Like they lie
Yeah. Police do that all the time to
like
get them to
John's talking,
confess.
right?
Yeah.
Like John just said you did it.
Which I
What's
would
going
say
on
about
there?
you for sure.
Obviously,
Yes.
we'd sell each other out
We'd
in
sell each
2
other
seconds.
out. Yeah, for sure.
That's the point of this whole friendship.
That's
Um,
what's going on.
but they can lie or not. So I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
just would Sarah even take that bluff? Like, is she so not
That's the question.
aware that she's just like, whatever? Okay, so
Yeah.
the first video they find is 2 minutes in length and shows Jorge locked inside of a suitcase, begging to be let out.
Oh, I
And
hate that so much.
I can't even imagine. And then think about what like
I don't want to
they
do. I
have
know
to
what you're gonna say.
see. Like just
No.
people watching these videos. Okay. In the second video, the suitcase is still present, but this time it has clearly been placed face down. And throughout
Horrible.
both videos, Sarah is utterly under the influence and taunting Jorge from outside the suitcase. Why are we filming this? Are we filming this? Why are we filming this?
I would only imagine that she thinks she's gonna get away with this one day and wants to
It's like
relive
her
the
own
like
snuff video.
control. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
call on that. She appears to be quote unquote punishing him as a revenge for some sort of transgression. Now, back in the interrogation room, detectives informed Sarah that they had seen the videos on her phone and wanted to give her a chance to explain what was happening on the recordings. Okay, call
Okay.
her out because now what's she gonna do?
Yeah, and also the police are probably trying to just get her on the record as saying, "Oh, it was just hide and seek," when
Right.
if they know that he's
Clearly
been
not.
begging for his life, then they can bring that to court and she would definitely not be
Doesn't look
let
great for
off.
her. Yeah, it
Right.
doesn't look great for her. Now, police played the videos for Sarah on the spot, and though everyone watched her taunting the dying man on screen, Sarah, has the Roy Cohn Trump aspect of it. So just continued to deny that the murder was intentional. I mean, you
Well,
double down on something like that. Now,
right.
in theory, just saying, could it be that this was part of some sort of BDS thing
Yeah, I
and
know. I was thinking that too. Yeah.
there is something about having a like a rape fantasy, especially in
Yeah,
female
yeah.
culture, sort of it's called ravishment, like, but you don't actually want to be raped, but you
Of
sort of
course.
want the appearance or maybe
The
exhilaration and
scene.
the
Yeah.
scene of that,
Right, right.
is it possible? Like, I guess, like maybe reasonable doubt here, but this is a
But she would have
stretch
to
for
say
me.
that, right? Like she would need to be sort
She
of
need
saying
to,
that.
right, like her thing of I fell asleep is also not
Right,
conducive to
exactly.
like this was because you have so much consent in BDSM, so much
Exactly.
trust that it wouldn't lend
That's the
itself to that.
difference. The consent
Yeah,
is the difference. And also the neighbors reporting that there was a big blow up doesn't help either. So,
exactly. So eventually the police repeated one of Sarah's own statements from the video back to her. Quote, "This is how you make me feel. This is what you get." Now,
yeah.
they informed her that this was more than enough evidence to arrest her for murder, despite the fact that she has not
Yeah.
explained all the events that went down between her and Jorge.
That's right. So, no matter how often these cops tried to reiterate that she was being arrested and going to jail, she continued to insist that she was the real victim in the relationship. And not to play whatever here, but to be a little bit of a devil's advocate and be aware of the situation. We don't know the exact relationship between these two and what maybe this person did to her or didn't do to her. All we know is the research that's available for us today.
Right.
I will say people that feel, we've talked about it extensively over the years on the show and others. People that are victims of abuse specifically do feel this way and do say things like this and do ask the neighbors not to call the cops because they don't want any trouble at their home. So I just want to put that on the record. I'm not, of course, sympathizing with a killer by any means, but let's consider that as we talk about domestic abuse. So anyway,
Yeah.
after multiple delays, including one due to Hurricane Milton, which was just last year, I believe, right? So Sarah's murder trial began on October 14th, 2024. So guys, this is a very
3 months
recent,
ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
very recent situation. A jury of 6 with 8 alternates was sworn in, And on October 18th, 2024, the defense team's main argument was that Sarah suffered battered woman syndrome and was protecting herself with which is similar to what I was just mentioning.
Correct.
However, the prosecution had the overwhelming evidence of the videos filmed by Sarah where she cruelly taunts her partner as he begs to be released from the suitcase. Closing arguments began on October 25th, 2024, and on the same day, after less than 2 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict of second-degree murder. And
Quick.
yeah, exactly. And just about a month and a half ago, on December 2nd, 2024, 47-year-old Sarah was sentenced to life in prison for Jorge's murder. So very, very unsettling case today. I really hate to hear this kind of
Yeah, and
torture.
to your point, we don't know her background or what led to
It's
this, or
true.
if it
Yeah.
was literally, there
Self-defense or something.
the justice system isn't perfect. It is the only thing that we have currently, and it's sort of as probably as good as we can do. And unfortunately, as good as we can do, at least for right now. And unfortunately, and
Yeah.
DNA has helped all these things, but unfortunately, with our system,
Yeah.
guilty people go free and innocent people go to prison. And another reason why I don't believe in the death penalty, but this does happen. So I don't even want to necessarily say, because of these little moments of possible reasonable doubt, it certainly didn't look good on the video. Changing her story doesn't look good. Changing her story
Yeah.
multiple times, showing absolutely no remorse or anything like that.
Of
Again,
course.
if it was going from hide and seek, wouldn't you immediately say, yes, I
Exactly.
killed him because I feared for my life and
Right.
I had to play this ruse of hide and, like you would have maybe started with that. But I'm just saying, we don't really know her background enough to say, like, this is just a woman who
Battered
just
woman
decided to kill,
syndrome.
yeah, kill one
Yeah.
day. So just a really disturbing case, and one that was only
Yeah.
recently adjudicated. So
That's
yeah.
right. Well, let us know what you guys think about this week's episode. Did it shake and disturb you the way it did for us? Because I will tell you, I was a little bit unsettled as
Are
I
you
was reading
shooketh
through
and
this.
disturbeth?
I'm shooketh and disturbeth if I've ever been.
Yes.
Yeah. So let us know at J Thrasher and Carpe Daryn. Hit us up on our Facebook group. And of course, if you're a patron, join us there and let us know what you think. And I know many of you have been doing that. Mitz, Marty, Sandy, we love you guys for that.
Yes.
Speaking of which, Daryn, let's do some listener shout outs as we wrap up this week's episode.
You take the first one because it definitely has to do with shit you talk about.
That's true. On last week's Patreon exclusive NMR episode, I mentioned the store,
We're
Five
going down to the
Below.
store
We're
today. We
going
got
to
some
the
things to get at the store.
We got to get Hello Kitty
The
candy.
store. We got to get candies at the store.
Both Sandy and Mitz on Patreon commented to let us know that actually, Daryn, Five Below is a quote dangerous store. They both said dangerous. I think it's easy to spend so much money on candy
Oh,
there,
got it.
and I will be careful. So thank you guys for letting us know that it's a dangerous store. And Krista also noted that Hello Kitty turns 50 this year, the brand Hello Kitty.
Ooh.
Speaking of which, I mentioned Hello Kitty and how much I love those little snacks on last week's episode. Like I said, what happened the very next day? David Archuleta posted a picture of him at a Hello Kitty cafe. Now,
Yeah,
Daryn, I
yeah.
just want to point out that could have been me with him at the Hello Kitty cafe had you actually given him my number when you met him on the red carpet. But
True.
you chose your career over me in those moments, and I won't forget that. I
And
really
that's the
won't.
kind of friend that I am. I'm always going to choose my career over you.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. Otherwise, I would be John Archuleta today. But okay,
Obviously.
here we are.
That's the deterrent, people. But it was weird. And then obviously John texted
That
me
was
immediately
weird.
and he was like, me talking about Hello Kitty, only for David Archuleta to be around Hello
Yeah.
Kitty. And I was like, this is obviously a match made in heaven. There's no,
By the way,
this is science. Yeah.
I want to just say thank you to you for actually entertaining these types of text messages. Most of my friends would just ignore me, but Daryn was really like kind of walking
Oh,
me
I
through
want
that.
to. But
Yeah, you do. By the way, I told
Well,
Daryn that 2024 would be the year that Daryn crushed my dreams, but it's fine. Let's keep
and
going.
it's 2025. So hopefully I'll be able
Yeah,
to keep
to
that
do it
up.
again.
And
Yeah,
yes,
I'm sure you
exactly.
will, knowing you.
Well, Tegan on Facebook says, quote, finally cut up on NMR, and that proposal sounds perfect, Daryn. Congrats. Thank you so
Aw,
much, Tegan.
Tegan.
Honestly, it was kind of perfect.
It was kind of
My
perfect.
girl. It's kind of perfect.
And when you hear on this week's NMR, because you all are going to go listen to it in our public feed, what the other announcement is, it's just, things are just really working out for Daryn over there. Happy for you.
Th-
Happy for you. Meanwhile,
You
I'm
sound it. No,
single
you
and
sound it. Yeah,
yeah,
no.
everything's going great. Yeah.
Going to the grocery store. Yeah.
Going to the grocery store and getting hit on by men that are straight and not interested.
What are your goals in life,
Anyways,
John? Okay.
I forgot he asked me that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, Patreon is popping off as usual. You can join us for as little as seven,
Seven.
$5 a month. There is a
It was seven.
$7
We're giving
tier.
you
Yeah, I
the
was gonna say
discount at five.
I think there was a $7. Yeah, 5, 7, 10, and 20. So there you go. But for as little as $5 a month, you can join us. You can get it for even cheaper if you sign up annually. That is so cheap these days. Disney Plus, Netflix. I just saw Netflix raise
Who?
their
Yeah,
prices
I don't
again.
like. Yeah.
By the way, we love Netflix. They send us screeners. We love them. Nothing
They do.
against them. We're just
Yeah.
just surprised that that price keeps going up. But nonetheless, you can get our content for as little as 3 something a month if you sign up annually. So patreon.com/shaken and disturbed, or you can click the link in the show notes.
I love that. And also, if you're on Patreon, we recently posted a link to take our survey. Check it out and let us know what you love about Patreon, and we will give you a shout out in an upcoming episode. Speaking of which, this
That's
week,
right.
shout out to Sandy, Denise, Anthony, and all her farm animals, of course. Aaron, Marty, Roxy, and Tracy. And thanks again for being such supportive patrons. We absolutely love you.
Yes, and we know several more of you have taken the survey. So we have a whole list of people for next week's episode. So don't worry, your name will be on as a special shout out. We really do love you. And yes, we do want to get to know what you guys love or maybe don't love about our Patreon. So if you are an existing patron, please do take that survey, or thank you if you've already taken it. Daryn, it's time to sign off. I have a birthday tomorrow. You have a new baby. We've got a
True.
lot going on in our lives, so let's go
We
live it. You know,
Happy birthday, John. I hope it was a
thank
great
you.
one. We're going to recap it on next week because I know if you're listening to
Sure.
this on Sunday, it already happened. So we will recap it next week. But happy birthday, my friend. I love you.
Thank you very much. And for all of you listening, take care and don't forget to brush your hair.
And guys, just remember, please be neat and wipe the seat.
So gross. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.